welcome to the GBC. I am your host, Nash Koberg. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Travas Uthe. Trav is the founder and owner of Travas Outfitters here in Watertown. Travas is the #1 trusted source for all things footwear, and they also specialize in outdoor work and apparel. Thanks for coming on, Trav. Trav is truly living out the American dream, and we're happy to have him on. Is there anything you'd like to add to that introduction?
Yeah, no, it's a great introduction. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So we start every episode off here at GBC with a 5-question rapid fire quiz. It's kind of like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but better, because today we have $50 to Senex on the line if you can get 4 out of the 5 right. Are you ready?
All right.
All right. Question number 1. Where is the biggest leather boot in the world?
The biggest leather boot in the world is in Red Wing, Minnesota.
Correct. 1 for 1. Good start. Good start. I've heard you were kind of a truck guy, so hopefully you know this one. Who produced the first mass-produced truck? Who produced it?
I would say probably Ford, but I could be wrong.
Ford. Henry Ford, correct. Correct. This one's a little tough. What city is considered the boot capital of the world in terms of where most of the large manufacturers are? I can give you a hint if you want.
Leon, Mexico.
Oh, in the United States, sorry. In the United States. You're close. It's really close.
El Paso,
yes,
Texas?
correct. Gosh, that was good. Number 4, if you get this one, it's a guaranteed win. Watertown is home to South Dakota's first governor. Who is that governor?
Arthur Millette.
Arthur Millette, correct. 4 for 4. Lastly, if anyone is in need of a boot, a shoe, or outdoor working gear, where should they get it?
That's an easy one. Travas Outfitter all day long.
Sweet. 5 for 5. You're a winner. It's always a good way to break the ice and kind of get into the interview. So can you explain to the audience how Travas became and what the origin story is?
For sure. So tomorrow, the 15th of June, it'll be exactly 39 years that I started in the footwear and apparel business. I was 15 years old, and I started at a store uptown. In those days, it was called Surplus Sales.
Okay.
And then they changed their name to The Outfitter, and that's kind of how I ended up with Travas Outfitter. I worked for them for over 18 years through high school and after high school. In 2003, they decided that they were going to close up. They were kind of done with retail. They didn't have any interest in selling to me. And so I was 33 years old, had 2 children, had just been through a divorce. I was engaged to be married to my wife, Sherry, and knew that I had to be gainfully employed. And really connected in the footwear industry. I could have went to work for many manufacturers as a manufacturer rep, or I'd done some footwear designing too. So I had lots and lots of options. But I had 2 sons that I wanted to be around, and I didn't want to be. I knew if I was a road rep that I wouldn't be able to be the father that I needed to be, and I knew this business, and so. So, you know, the story that you hear oftentimes in December of 2003, we started it in our garage. I bought a truck for $8,000 and built the racking on the inside of it so that we could go directly to consumer. And so we started in the garage in December of 2003. May of 2004, we moved into a little 4,000 square foot building on Highway 20. And then I guess it was 2016 already, no, 2018 that we moved into here. 28,000 feet. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's
So Trav started as, you said you built out a truck. Did you were going to direct consumer how, like businesses or?
Yeah, so a big part of our business still today, we operate 4 mobile safety shoe stores. So they're 24 to 28 foot van body trucks. We build them out so they're insulated. They've got air conditioning. They've got heat. We carry our own generators, so we've got our own power. And then we go directly to manufacturers, work sites, railroads, places like that in a 5-6 state area. And we've got about 300 clients that we service that way.
Wow.
And so that's how we started. In those days when I was starting on my own, the first truck that I built out, I actually built the rack so that the shoes could be displayed out like this, because then I didn't have to have as much investment in inventory. It looked like I had a lot more, and I didn't have as much invested.
Sure, yeah.
But now the trucks that we have carry between 1,000 and 1,400 pair per truck on them.
Sure, wow. What are some challenges that you had faced kind of getting your feet off the ground and even today?
Yeah, getting started, the challenge that I had was the folks that I'd worked for a long time. When they decided to sell out, when we exited and we parted ways, it didn't go well. So I didn't get near the financial resources that I was told I was going to get. And so it was hard. It was hard to get financed. It was hard, as you can imagine. You do a lot of these interviews, and banks. I'm not down on bankers, but they don't like risk, right? They like risk, but they want it to be calculated, and they want to make darn sure that in today's world they're getting 8.5%, 9% on their money, and they want very little opportunity to lose, right? And I respect their position, but it makes it hard to get it financed to get started. So that was some of the hardest part. But over time here, we've been blessed with many great vendors that we buy from, have supported us. The banking industry has supported us. One of the biggest challenges we had was building this. We went from 4,000 feet to 28,000 feet. And if you remember 6-8 years ago, everybody thought that Amazon was taking the whole world over, right? Just like 25 years ago, everybody thought Walmart was going to take the whole world over. And people grossly overreact. That's just the way the world is. Right. And so getting this financed was hard. It took us 2 years to get this deal financed. Wow. But yeah, today, the two things that are hardest today is getting quality employees, and then the price of wages. I tell people all the time when I say that, they're like, well, people got to get paid. I agree with that. I was raised in a blue-collar household. My dad was a power lineman. I know what it is. People have to get paid, and they have to be able to support themselves and their family. Right. But businesses still have to make money, and that and that part's been lost right now. With the unbelievable increase in cost of doing business, the unbelievable increase in labor, it's hard to make money right now. In our business, it's hard to make money. So those are challenges.
You can tell kind of when you talk to other employees and part of your team that there is a culture here. And you guys are kind of, founded on some good values. How did you get those values, and how do you keep that culture maintained?
Yeah. So when I started the company over 20 years ago, I said we have to know who we are, we have to know what we're about, we have to know where we're going. Now, that was simplistic talk from a 32, 34-year-old man, right? But I just believe that. I believe that we needed to know that. I have a strong Christian faith. I don't hide that. I talk about it. I'm proud of that. And I believe that we can have that faith, but unless we live it out, unless we live in a way that emulates as best we can, as close as we can to Jesus, right, that we're a fraud, right? And so that's a big part of what we do here. It's important. We believe that we should treat people, whether it's our vendors, our employees, our staff, our customers. We need to treat them the way we'd want to be treated. Right. And sometimes in business that's really hard. As a matter of fact, last night I had a conversation with somebody down at Thursday Night Live, and they said, well, that's just business. That's just the way you got to. That's just business, and I don't agree with that at all. I think that's a cop out when people say, "Well, that's just business." Right. My dad, who I told you is a power lineman, my dad told me years ago, you know how to know when you've made a good deal? What would most people say? They would say, I made a good deal when I was able to buy that piece of real estate at 25% less than what the value is, right? Right. Most people would say, I've made a good deal if I'm able to come into Travs and buy a pair of boots for 50% off. Mm-hmm. That's not what a good deal is. A good deal is when the buyer and the seller are both satisfied. Mm-hmm. And we live by that here. Sure. Does that mean that I want to be a huckleberry or that I want to not be a smart businessman? Right. No, that's not it at all. But I think that we can make money, I think that God will bless us and he'll honor decisions that we make if we make decisions based on that very principle.
Sure. Yeah.
We want it to be a good deal. We want it to be fair for our customers, fair for our vendors, and fair for our family here at Travas Outfitter.
Yeah. You were just explaining how you kind of live that out, those values, you live them out every day. I know in the community as well, you do some things kind of living out that Christ-like life.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain some of the things you do there for Watertown and the community?
Sure. The other thing that I coined, a phrase that I coined for myself, and we share it within the business now, is it's not just about the boots, right? So we're known for footwear. We carry 25 to 28,000 pairs of shoes in stock every day, right? Wow. And so it's easy to get wrapped up into what we're doing and selling the next pair of boots. But at the end of the day, what we do with selling things here is just a conduit for us to do other things, and we believe that. And so yeah, you know, I don't like to. Honestly, I don't like to boast about things that we do within our community, but we are heavily involved, and we want to be. We know that it's a broken world that we live in. We're super proud to live in Watertown. I love South Dakota. We're free here, and contrary to what the national media tell us, we're very free to do what we want in South Dakota. I think those of us that are South Dakotans, we lose track of that sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. But I had a really, really smart man a long time ago. We were at a fundraiser for Make-A-Wish, and I had zero money to spend on things at that fundraiser. We were very early into the business, and he subsidized the purchase of this little pedal tractor, and he looked at me, and I'll never forget it. He's passed on now, but he looked me in the eye and he said, "When you live in a community like Watertown, these are the things that you do." And that stuck with me, right? Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I mean, I have a lot of strong opinions. We're doing the H2O 2050 envisioning right now. Yep. And there are a lot of people working really hard to make Watertown even better than it is. But the biggest challenge that we have, that I see in Watertown, is that it can't just be on 50 or 75 families or businesses to make the thing move along, right? And I think sometimes people look at it and they think, well, God, I've only got 10 or 15 or $20 to buy a ticket to be part of something. But people have to be engaged. We all have to be engaged, right? And so that would be my call. That would be my request, that if we want Watertown to be better, which I think most of us do, mm-hmm. It takes all of us. Yeah. So.
What did it mean to you when you went from that 4,000 to 28,000 square foot as trying to, even if you weren't trying, becoming a staple of Watertown? How does that, impact you?
Yeah. So, this sounds arrogant, and I don't want it to be, but I've believed for a long time that I understand the footwear business as good or better than any retailer in America. And because I love Watertown, this was a goal. This was something that I always wanted to do. Mm-hmm. You guys have probably heard it. Well, we should have a Bass Pro Shops. We should have a Cabela's. We should have a Shields. We should have and I'm not down on those people. They're all competitors of mine. As a matter of fact, from my seat, I have a ton of respect for Shields. I do. Yeah. 22,000 people in Watertown, South Dakota won't support a Shields. Right. We don't have it's not enough revenue. Can't make it work. And so this was my way of offering an unbelievable selection, knowledgeable staff, great products at a rate that our community could afford. Yeah, right. And when I say that, people will probably take that wrong, but it's just the truth. There's just a scale of what communities can afford. Right. And here again, you look around. There's not a store like Trav's in Aberdeen. Mm-hmm. There's not a store like Trav's in Brookings, Yankton, Mitchell, right. Spearfish, Rapid City, right. Sioux Falls, right? Yeah. And I'm proud of that. Like not arrogantly proud of it, but I'm proud of what we've been able to assemble here. Yeah. And yeah, I'm doing it so that I can make a profit.
Yeah.
But I'm also doing it so we can employ 42 great people, and I'm doing it so that we can offer great service and selection and products to the end user.
Right. Going back to the roots a little bit, obviously your roots are here in Watertown, but Travas was founded on, we were talking off camera a little bit, Travas was founded on the blue collar worker. Watertown has a strong presence of blue collar workers in the town. Just speak to how important that has been for Travas and the community.
Yeah, so I think where a lot of that comes from, my dad was a power lineman, and my dad worked for rural electric cooperatives, so it would be similar to Coddington Clark Electric in Watertown here. Only this was in the 70s and 80s, so they were smaller. These rural electric cooperatives that my dad worked for were smaller. Some of them only had 7, 8 linemen.
Sure.
And my dad didn't want my mom to work outside the home, and so we were a one-income house. And my dad was a blue-collar guy, and he worked hard. And my dad told me, he said, when I was very young, he said, God gives you 2 hands, he gives you 2 eyeballs, he gives you 2 knees, he gives you 1 back, he gives you 2 feet. And he said, when you're a blue-collar person, those are your tools. Mm-hmm. If you don't take care of your hands, you're not worth much to your employer. If you don't take care of your back, if you don't, and linemen have to go out and restore power when it's cold outside, when it's blizzarding, and so my dad would save, I think it was $5 a week. He would take 5, and we laugh at it now because you can't buy a Starbucks for $5, but he'd save $5 a week. And one time a year, Dad would go and he would either buy a Carhartt jacket or a Carhartt pair of bibs or a new pair of line boots, and that was one thing that my dad didn't skimp on. Mm-hmm. We just didn't skimp on, and the reason we didn't was because I knew that I learned from my dad, and he knew that in order for him to do his job at a high level, he had to be well dressed. Right. He had to be protected from the elements, and so I think that's where some of it comes from for me. I know that there's all sorts of places people can go shop. I mean, I've been at this for 39 years, but the difference is we have to carry some price point of stuff so that we can be at the price range that people want to be in. But that's not the point of our spear. The point of our spear is selling some of the best products that money can buy. Because in the end, if you take and amortize those out, it's really a better value. Mm-hmm. I love the word value. I think that that's a great word, not only in retail, but in our society. And so at the end of the day, yeah, we might be more money than you're going to spend at a farm store or at a big box store. But we know what we're selling people. Mm-hmm. And we're selling them products that are going to give them actually a better value for the dollar that they spend. Sure. And so I think that's been the driving force for me is that what we do is real. Yeah. And it's the truth.
Yeah. And I know you guys were also stating that, 2024 is that was kind of a tie to your roots, going mm-hmm. back to the year of the blue collar. Why do you think that's important to keep in your everyday thoughts and not get ahead of that?
Yeah. So when we moved out here, because we're on Highway 212, we gained all sorts of new customers, and we were known as the kind of weird little boot and work store on Highway 20, right? Yeah. And so we didn't want to lose that, but we also knew that in order for this to work, we had to garner more customers. Mm-hmm. And so we've chased after, a lot of high quality brands, Cool, 7 Diamonds, Travis Matthew we added this year, FX Fusion, Columbia, the North Face. We added all those brands, and we also really expanded our athletic and casual shoe offering. And so in order to get that off the ground, we had to spend so much of our marketing time and effort to try to let people know that they could buy those things in Watertown. Mm-hmm. But what happens when you do that is sometimes start to take for granted the core customer that really brought us to the dance. Right. And I'll be frank with you, at the end of the day, right now, with the economy the way it is and people's finances are stretched thin, the people that are carrying this place are the same people that we founded mm-hmm. this place for. Right. And we felt that it was a way for us to honor them, and a way for us to remind them that we haven't forgotten about them, and a way for us to show appreciation for what the Joe Lunchbox does every day, right?
Yeah.
Nobody carries a lunchbox anymore, but you know, that's our way of, you know,
Right.
Joe Lunchbox. He gets up every day, packs his lunch, and he goes to work, and he does it all over again tomorrow.
Right.
And we're seeing some of that in our society right now with the push for technical colleges and those sorts of things. But I think the folks that just make America go round, you know, keep the sort of cogs of commerce turning,
Yeah.
oftentimes are sort of taken for granted.
Right.
We get up and we walk over and we flip the switch on. We don't think about what it takes to get the electricity to our house, you know.
Right.
Or we need our furnace fixed, and we don't think about what it takes for somebody to have the knowledge to come and do that, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just our way of doubling down on our heritage, and also trying to be really respectful and show honor to those people that probably some of the hardest working folks in our whole society.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can tell just from our conversations, serving keeps coming to my head. You guys are a company that I can feel is looking to serve. How do you, once they walk into the door, how have you created that, and how do you continue to keep that service-minded business? You know?
So we started running on EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, about 2.5 years ago now. And so we took, you know, you got to know who we are, what we're about, where we're going. We took that and we formalized it, right, with somebody with an operating system that's way smarter than me, right? But so we've created our core values, right? And so we want to deliver value to our customer. We want to have compassion for others. And we want to strive for excellence. And so those are the things that we use when we train all the way down to our part-time staff. We use those core values. And then our niche is that we want to deliver the best retail shopping experience possible. And so those are the things that we use to help us drive forward the culture that we ultimately want here at Travs. Sure. Here again, I don't want it to sound like I'm picking on other places, but very rarely do you go someplace anymore where somebody walks up to you and truly wants to wait on you.
Yeah.
Most places you go, you see they've got a shirt on with the name of where they work, and they look at you kind of side-eyed, and they're like going the other way.
Please don't talk to me.
Yeah, and so that's completely, that's not our deal.
Yeah.
And frankly, when we moved out here and moved into this space, we got a lot of new customers, and it freaked a lot of them out because they'd never had service like that.
Right.
But when our customers understood that it's real, what we're trying to do is real.
Right. I can attest to that just personally, because when I moved up here, I started working at UPS as a preloader, and I needed a pair of boots. They told me I needed a pair of work shoes, and so I came in here, and I don't know how many pairs of shoes I tried on, because the gentleman helping me wanted the best shoe for me. And I mean, no, not to, I mean, you know, it was great. It was a great experience, and I've came back several times. And just from knowing, you know, not knowing anybody really in the town, and just, yeah, I mean, I was like, I didn't know how much went into finding a shoe that fits, and I absolutely love that pair of shoes. But anyway, yes, so I can attest to that. How do you stay connected with your customers' wants and their needs and the changing industry all the time?
So I don't get to work the sales floor as much as I used to. I joke all the time. One day I want to retire from my office, and I just want to come in about 3 hours a day and just sell boots. I still love selling boots. But I still go out on the boot truck when they need me to. As a matter of fact, about 6 weeks ago we were short, and I spent 3 days in a row out on the boot truck. I have to tell you, at 54, I'm bigger and heavier and lazier and out of shape, and I was tired at the end of 3 days, 3 long days on the boot truck. But I still want to be connected to the customer. I still want to be available. There's a purpose that my office is where it is, and bathrooms are where they are, and shipping and receiving is. That's all thought through, right? Because at the end of the day, when I come out of my office, my eyes are open, and I want to see what's going on. I want to know what's going on. And so there again, that's another difference. That's another difference in Travas Outfitter. no matter how big we get, if God blesses us with more locations, whatever it might be, I don't ever want to be the guy that's locked in the office or the guy that believes that I've got too much going on.
Right.
To sit down and hear what a customer has to say. And because at the end of the day, that's the best market research you can get. You got to hear it right from the person that's buying the product.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome. If you could go back in time and give yourself some advice, what would that be?
There's a lot of it. Probably the biggest thing that I would say is don't believe your own press. I think as humans, we're broken, we're sinful. And when we have even a minute amount of success, we create our own headlines in our head, in between our ears. And so we start to believe our own press, right? And oftentimes what that does is it gets us way out further than we ought to be. You know, if you're a water skier or a snow skier, you're getting out over your skis, right? And so that would be the biggest thing that I would say is continue to stay grounded, no matter how much success we have. Try to not forget that you never have so much that you've got extra, right? And so that would be and then the second thing as a 54-year-old man that's now got 2 grandsons, it's a double-edged sword. I can be very reflective on what it took, time-wise and commitment-wise, to help create this to what it is.
Right.
It doesn't happen on 40 hours a week. It doesn't happen on 50 hours a week.
Right.
It doesn't happen on 60 hours a week. Sometimes it didn't happen on 70 hours a week. But for every action, there's a reaction. And for every decision, there's a cost. And at 54 years old, and the success that God's given me, I'm able to step back now and go, yeah, that cost me some time with my wife. And that cost me some time with my sons and our daughter. And so that would be the other piece of advice. It seems like each generation looks at that differently, right? I couldn't have, in my 20s and 30s and 40s, operated the way I do at 54 and got to where we are.
Right.
I know that. But I still think there's some middle ground there. And my wife would tell you that I'm a person of extremes. I'm either off the gas or it's full tilt, right?
Yeah.
And so the advice would be, and entrepreneurs, that's hard. But as an entrepreneur, try to find some middle range.
Right.
You know? So those are a couple of things that I think about.
If you were to give another piece of advice to an entrepreneur or somebody wanting to start a business or something today, in today's world, kind of what you just said, but is there anything else that you would add advice?
Don't do it halfway. Don't do it halfway. I will tell you, at 54, I don't want to become a bitter old guy, but our society is full of halfways. Our society is full of people that, I'll talk about in our industry. They decide they want to open a boutique. I'm not down on boutiques. But they don't want to be there till 10 o'clock in the morning. They want to close over lunch and they want to leave by 3 so they can pick their kid up from school.
Right.
Don't do it. Don't do it then. Because at the end of the day, you're never going to have the success that you really want to have.
All in or all out?
I mean, be all in. Because half measures will avail you nothing. I share this with our vendors all the time. I've spent enough time designing shoes. When I was younger, I would spend my lunch breaks at the shoe repair shop in town because I wanted to know what I was selling. I wanted to know what was in these shoes. And so when we go to market or when vendors come here and they show us a line of shoes, they can do everything. You can be 85, 90% of the way, but they cheap out on $1.50 insole or they don't put the right hardware on the shoe, right? Those are the things that I think as a society, we've just gotten so lax that we're good with 75%. We're good with 80%. The problem is we want to give 75 or 80%, but we want 100% success.
Right.
So that would be I would tell you that it's becoming more and more of a pet peeve of mine all the time, you know? Make sure your bathrooms are clean.
Yeah.
Make sure the floor's swept.
Right.
Make sure your product's dusted. You know, I mean, those are all things that people look at and they're like, well, but my buddies want to go golfing, or I got to go here, I got to go there. Then you got to hire somebody to do those things, because if you're going to have success, you got to be all in. That's a very firm belief that I have.
How do you decide what you're going to buy and how you get it in here?
How do you think it happens?
What, me? Probably.
I got a $50 Cenex gift card I just won. It's on the line. How do you think it happens?
Based on our conversation so far, I would guess that you have lots of meetings, you test the products, you see what's a part of it, and then
How far out do you think we have to buy? Like, how far out do we have to be planning?
6 months.
We're writing spring of 25 right now. So almost a year.
Wow.
Almost a year. Would you have any belief or understanding that these manufacturers have minimums? We have to meet minimums with almost every one of these manufacturers every season.
Is that quarterly?
No, 2 seasons a year.
Okay.
Yeah, spring and fall. So really the way it works is that, so as a matter of fact, this morning before you guys got here, our sales rep with Columbia Sportswear was in town. He brought his samples in town, and we worked the line, and we have to have the order in by the 5th of July in order to get delivery for next spring.
Wow.
So it's that far out. And what happens is when you get to be the size that we are, you have to do all sort of analyzation, right? So did the ladies' dresses sell? And then did the ladies' dress with a small strap sell, or was it a wider strap with more coverage?
Right.
Then you have to do the analyzation. Did shorts sell? Oh, but there's shorter shorts, there's medium shorts, there's longer shorts.
Right.
So each line, there has to be that analyzation with it. So it's there's a lot of really preparation and studying and work that has to be done on the front side. And you're probably looking at me going, geez, it seems like, well, here's what we're up against. So we have to write the order by the 5th of July.
Right.
But if I get it wrong, not enough, we miss sales.
Right.
If I get it wrong too much, we have a lot of markdowns. So, and markdowns don't work, right? Because we've tied up our money and we're marking it down to below what we got to have in order to show a profit.
Right.
So it's really hard to try to find that, if you think about it, 45% not enough, 45% too much. You got to hit that 10% sort of landing strip in there in order to make it work. And you have to do that with 250 vendors.
Right.
So,
wow.
So, like Columbia, for example, they have a line called PFG, Professional Fishing Gear. Mm-hmm. Well, Hook, H-U-K, came on the scene about 3-4 years ago. Well, Hook went right after that category, right? So it's hard you already have a customer with PFG, so you can't just stop buying that.
Right.
But you got to find money to buy Hook because you want to bring that in because you want to be progressive, right?
Right.
So then you've got to figure out how do you manage that, right? Like how do you get off the gas here and how do you get on the gas there? Right. So I'm not making it out like it's the hardest thing in the world, but it's definitely more arduous. Many people, I think, they think we just open a catalog or we go online and we click on what we like. It shows up and away we go, right?
Right.
It couldn't be further from the truth.
Looking towards the future, are there any, exciting things happening here right now? I mean, it kind of seems like there always are, but is there big things on the horizon or any cool things up ahead?
Yeah, right now we're in a phase right now of business where it's hard to show profit. It just is. The expenses are not completely, but they're really outstripping our profits.
Right.
I've been at this for 39 years. We've never done more business than we're doing today, and we've never made less money than we are today. So now, do I think that will stay that way? Absolutely not. I wholeheartedly believe in the free trade system, and I believe that everything rights itself, right? It just, the pendulum's clear over here, probably further than it's ever been, right? But we've got a piece of real estate, commercial real estate that I bought in town here that I bought at the right price, and we had to do some fixing on it. if we can sell that, that would open up the doors for us. We're looking at a couple different markets. We would like to open other Travas Outfitters, other locations of Travas Outfitter.
Sure.
But the timing's got to be right. We've got to be able to find the right people. We have every one of our manufacturers are like, yeah, we'll go with you. You just do whatever you need to do. So yeah, we've got exciting stuff going on. We just started a podcast. We've recorded 2 episodes of our podcast. So that's what we're going to use. Part of what we're going to use our new office up there for, our conference room. So we're excited about that. We brought all of our marketing in-house about a year ago, maybe more than that, 18 months ago. So we're really excited about that. We control all of our own marketing now. And our marketing department does a great job of creating things and getting it out there. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff going on. And because I'm an optimist, I still believe that there's a lot more upside. Right?
Yeah.
It's just right now we've just kind of hit a plateau, or we're struggling to stay on that plateau. But yeah.
I know another thing. I'm actually repping them today. The Brunt work boots. I know that was a pretty big, get. Explain the story a little bit behind that and what that means.
Sure. So Eric Gerard, who is the founder of Brunt Footwear, started Brunt Footwear about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago. And he had this idea. He had already created a couple of direct-to-consumer brands. And he had some friends that were drywall hangers, and he lives in the Boston area. And they're like, nobody has good work boots. Nobody has good work boots. I've been in the boot business for 39 years. That's not true, but there again, that was their opinion.
Right.
This Eric decided he was going to set out and he was going to start his own brand of work boots, and he was going to go direct to the customer, and he was going to cut out the middle guy. And so that was his marketing for 2.5 years, is buy Brunt boots. We're at a great price. We've cut out the retailer. But then he realized that he's doing a tremendous amount of business. He's very, very successful. But he started to hit a plateau. Because at the end of the day, we talked about it a little bit, the consumer that's buying work boots still wants to touch them, feel them, try them on, see what the cushioning is. Because, and this is another little pet peeve I have, you can have the most luxurious leather jacket and the crummiest piece of leather jacket, and they look the same and feel the same on a computer screen, right? and so you reach the point where you can only sell so much by doing it that way. So then he decided that he was going to open up 23 retailers across the U.S., just 23 retailers across the U.S., and we were selected as one of the 23 that was, because geographically and because of our volume, we were selected to be a Brunt retail partner.
That's it.
And so we got them in the 15th of February. Just before the 15th of February, everybody launched at retail at the same time, 15th of February, and it's been absolutely tremendous. It's outstripped Brunt's inventory. It's outstripped all their futures that they had written. So they keep promising us that in August we'll be back in stock so we can order all that we want. But they've kind of got us on a short leash, and they've got us kind of boiled down each month. We can only get so many pairs. And some styles are tougher than others. But,
well, they are incredible and comfortable.
Yeah.
Well, Trav, we want to thank you so much for coming on and being a part of the GBC. We hope you at home can gather something from this, take it home, and apply it to your life. If you want to get connected with Trav's, we'll have his information and everything down below. And stay tuned to the GBC. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.